All right, we'd like to welcome everybody out to Surprise We Both Love Movies. We've got a special episode here for you today, and you're going to want to stick around all the way to the end. We're going to talk about something at the end that you guys are going to want to hear. But what we're reviewing today is the brand new streaming movie that is exclusive to HBO Max, got released yesterday at midnight, which is Zack Snyder's version of Justice League. This is a complete redo of the 2017 film. What I would tell people going into this is it is the same basic storyline where we've got Superman has died at the end of Batman versus Superman, and you can actually go in and watch Man of Steel, which does lead directly into Batman versus Superman. They overlap, and so does Batman versus Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. They all cross perfectly. You could watch it in one sitting if you dared. Okay, so we follow the same basic storyline where Superman's dead. We've got this creature called Steppenwolf who comes to Earth to destroy Earth. In the original version, we don't know why. In this version, we find out exactly why. And he's looking for these three mother boxes. During the movie, the heroes that get together realize they can't defeat Steppenwolf without the help of Superman. So they decide to help resurrect Superman. And that leads to the final climax of the film. So while this is a same basic outline of the original movie, it is completely different. This version only has a half an hour of the original version, well, the one that was released in theaters, and has 3.5 hours of new footage that has never been seen. So it's a 4-hour film. People need to know that going in. So Lamont, what were your thoughts on this movie?
All right, so what people need to know is first, do you love superheroes? Second, did you continue to dress up as a superhero past the age of 9? Third, did you ever live in a pineapple under the sea? This are key questions to answer before you sit down and watch this movie because, as Aaron referenced, it is 4 hours long. I have a strong passion for superhero movies, not as strong as Aaron's, but I really enjoy them. I grew up drawing them, watching them, playing with the action figures as a kid, and I was ready for this because I did see Justice League in 2017 and it was underwhelming. So when this one came out, I was like, all right, here's the meat and potatoes, here's the why, here's the character's motivation, here's the whole story. And you could tell, as we've referenced before in other shows, the first one was a movie. They basically took the same storyline and condensed it down into a nice, chewable, edible bite that you could digest within a couple of hours. This was the epically long, you're going to know everyone's motivation, slow motion Zack Snyder scenes, and you are going to be passionate about how this story ends. And to me, it was definitely, without a doubt, a better film than the first one was a movie. It's one of a kind in the sense that it shows you the backstory of so many characters. But I caution you, 4 hours. I've never watched a 4-hour movie before this.
Neither have I.
Never. Halfway through, make sure you have your popcorn and your Gatorade because you're going to need some refreshment and some electrolytes because it is a long ride. So about halfway through, I need a little break. It was very good. There was lots of things in there, like to Aaron's point, that you didn't see the first time you saw it. And you get a much, much richer story. It's so much better, but it's so much longer. So that's the trade-off. Whether or not you're willing to make that compromise or not, you have to decide for yourself. If you love superheroes and you can knock down those 3 action points I talked about earlier, you have a chance of you have an opportunity to see something really special. Aaron, what did you think?
Well, first of all, I want to say that nothing like this has ever been done before. And this is going to set a precedent. And right now, I'm going to tell everybody that this movie has a 97% positive rating on Rotten Tomatoes 24 hours later by the audience. So I don't think anybody who watches this is going to be disappointed, okay? I don't know how you could be. For me, this movie was epic. I have never been this satisfied after watching a film ever. This is not just a simple popcorn flick. There's a lot of different themes throughout this. We had that special about where we talked about movies and films. This one fits both categories quite well. It is something to behold. What's great about how they laid the movie out, people going into this, no, you can break this up into 2 or 3 days if you want. You could break it up into 7 days if you want, because there are 7 parts to the film. And they do set them up in parts, and they do have a break with each one.
Did you watch all the way through?
What's that?
Did you watch all the way through?
I did.
In one sitting?
I've watched it all the way through twice now. So, yes, with no breaks. Well,
Okay.
I mean, I had to take a break to go to the bathroom, but that was it. And I think I took some vitamin D as well, because, sitting in a dark room. So, but I sat through it twice with no breaks, straight through. And I'm going to be watching it several more times this weekend. Like I said, I have never been this satisfied. I swore I would never get excited about a movie again. I got burned with Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. I got burned with the, what do you call it? The Last Jedi, especially.
Mm-hmm.
This came out shortly before The Last Jedi, and I was really disappointed with the theatrical version of this film, because 90% of what we saw in the trailers wasn't in the movie, and I knew something had really changed behind the scenes. So what I love about this movie is they give every character their due. And it is long, but it has to be. Here's what's not in the film. The whole beginning with Superman, there's no goofy face Superman in this movie. There's no CGI with Superman's face. Gone. All those scenes are completely gone. We've got the whole opening sequence with Batman on the rooftop with the robber is gone. The Russians at the end, where Superman saves them in the house and the Flash saves them in a truck, gone. All of the things, Batman on the ground saying, something's bleeding, gone. All the stupid things that were in the first movie are completely gone, as well as 90 minutes of that movie are gone. This still follows the same basic thing, but the beginning with Wonder Woman is really fleshed out, and I was out loud cheering at the beginning. It was
good.
really, really freaking cool with what they had her do.
Mm-hmm.
They had the whole thing with the Flash. We get to see his backstory, and Iris, who was cut out of the original movie. We've also got a couple of interesting characters that were introduced in this movie. There is a person who works at Star Labs. He's an Asian guy. If people know the comics, they'll know that he actually ends up in the future becoming the Atom.
Oh, okay.
And he works in nanotech. They make the point in the movie that he works in the nanotech department. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was really cool how he was introduced in the film. So they do have plans for him in the future. Mm-hmm. We also get another character that I'm not going to mention.
Yeah, you don't mention.
Because when you find out, you see this other character that they introduced in this movie, it's going to make you look back at the Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman in a very different way. So there are definitely some surprises here. Now, a lot of people wanted to know if Green Lantern was in this movie. I'm going to tell you right now, Green Lantern is not in this movie. Zack Snyder did have original plans to bring back Ryan Reynolds, but they couldn't make it happen. The studio wouldn't allow him to do it. So no Green Lantern in this movie. You've got the same Green Lantern from the 2017 version, but that sequence is much longer, and you see more of that Green Lantern. That's when they talk about the history of what happened on Earth with Steppenwolf in the past. Well, not Steppenwolf, but another character in the past. So outside of that, same basic story. And the only two faults I found in this movie is some of the special effects looked a little, I wouldn't say undone, just not as good as they could have. Steppenwolf looks incredible, though. There's never a time where he looks fake, or his armor much more fierce, much more demonic character this time around versus what we got, like a watered down, cheesy PG version of him in the last film. That's not happening this time around. So it's a completely different movie, but thoroughly enjoyable. I never got bored. I never felt like it was long. I enjoyed every minute of this movie. And the only other thing I would fault is there's one line in the movie I did not like with Wonder Woman talking with Alfred. He's making some new tech for Batman, and she mentions he should make a lasso for him that's black. And I just thought it is just kind of goofy, kind of out of place. Outside of those two minor things, I find no fault in this movie. So, Lamont, what's your rating on this film?
All right. So after much time and looking back at what I saw and kind of analyzing it compared to the first one, I really had to think about, like I said, the movie and film score. As a movie, now, here's where it lost points for me. As a movie, my instincts were to give it a 9. After I finished watching, I was like, that was really good. But for 4 hours, it lost points. It was too long for a movie. So I had to give it an 8 as a movie.
Okay.
It was well done. Like you said, besides the runtime, you really didn't feel like it was, you knew it was longer than most movies because it's twice as long as most movies. But it was entertaining. If you break it into 2 halves,
Yes.
I think as a movie you'll be able to get an 8 out of it. If you're not in, if that's too long for you, you're gonna have a hard time. So I couldn't give it a 9 as a movie. As a film, oh man, it was great. It was able to hit all the points of being a superhero movie and the complexities of the characters,
Yeah.
the difficulties of their superheroes and their perspective cultures and how they had to work together and the difficulties and the history. You find out so much more. It's such a much deeper story than the original theatrical release. So for that, I was able to give it an 8 as well as a film. I mean, 8 across the board.
Fantastic.
If you can just, it's only about if you can maintain your focus for 4 hours is really the only difficult part of it. But it's really one of the better, if not probably top 5 superhero films. I will say that films I've ever seen. What about you, Aaron? What's your scores?
I'm definitely a little higher than you. As a movie, just pure enjoyment, I have to give it a 10. For me, this is the best superhero film I personally have ever seen. It hit on all cylinders all the way across. And you keep hitting on the long point, and I will agree that it is long. My wife saw it, and she had said it was long, but she never said she got bored.
No.
She sat there with us the whole time watching. I have a 14-year-old who doesn't usually watch movies. She was entertained the entire time. So people are not going to be bored. It is long.
You won't be bored. No.
But by the fact that it was streaming is what gave them the opportunity to do this, because this is what happened with the original release is Zack Snyder. They told him, you got to make it 2 hours. And that's why he left the project, because he couldn't cut it down. And he had to deal with his daughter passing away. So they took that opportunity to retool it completely. So I give it a 10 across the board as a movie. As a film, I give it a 9. And the only reason I don't give it a 10 or anything less is because, I mean, this is as deep as you're going to get with a superhero film.
Yes.
I have never seen a superhero film with the complexity of these types of characters and their backstories. And this movie is about unity. It's about coming together. It's about realizing what your purpose is and understanding that everybody does have a purpose. And it was really well done. So the message was great. And the only reason I don't give it a 10 is because it's a comic book movie. It's not a study in life. It's not a drama. It's not real life. It's a comic book. And that's the only reason I don't give it a 10. All right. So that's what we have for you guys this week. Now, we're not going to close the show out like normal today. If you guys stick around, because I am a massive DC fan, and you could almost call me a historian when it comes to DC Comics and these movies especially, we're going to extend the show. So anybody who wants to stick around, the video portion is going to end. But if you want to hear the rest of this, you're going to have to go to Spotify.
Or iTunes.
Yeah. No, this one is definitely going up because I think the buzz around it, I want people to be able to partake and be in the moment on this one.
Gotcha.
So if this is where we're going to end the video, but we appreciate everybody who stuck around till this point. And occasionally we're going to start doing this with some films and some things where we might extend this beyond. If you like the video, like it, and we look forward to having you guys back for our next video.
Also, all of those listening on Spotify or the iTunes podcast,
yes,
now's the point to pause it if you haven't seen the movie, because we're going to get into some of the details and a little bit more about some of the things that the story contains. So for this week on the video side, I'm Lamont Lovejoy.
I'm Aaron Fisher.
And we'll see you guys next week.